Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 150, where I was black and we played a king's pawn opening. So before we get into the game, let me say one thing, which is I'm going to be away from my computer for about a week, so I won't be uploading any new videos for a while, but enjoy the videos that are here, and I will be back soon. Okay, so let's get on with the game. We're not using the opening book or the chess engine here because, well, you see, we'll get out of the opening real quick. Right here, d3. So up until this point, is a normal king's pawn opening, and the main moves are bishop b4, the Ruy Lopez, bishop c5, bishop b5, the Ruy Lopez, bishop c4, the Italian game, and d4, the Scotch game, and of course there are many other openings, but moves at that point. But d3 is not one of the main moves, and it's a very quiet move, and pretty much allows black to equalize immediately. And after a few moves, actually, black ends up with a slight advantage. So starting around here. Let's see, bishop d2. I mean, white is playing logically, just given that he set up this quiet formation with the pawns. He's just finding squares for his pieces. But his position is cramped. He has less space. And let's see, I make the first pawn move here. I want to keep the bishop from landing on the g4 square and establishing a pin, because I may have to play d6, and I want this bishop to be locked out. And sometimes when you have this pin, you need this bishop to come back here to break the pin. So it's not clear if this move h6 was necessary, but that's what I was thinking. h3, and black retained some advantage through all this, and d5 is a good move at this point. Black is castled and white hasn't. Black has developed all his pieces except for all the minor pieces except for the light squared bishop, which can develop pretty easily. So why not just open up the center and claim a little more space? So we proceed with some exchanges here. And I went ahead and traded bishops. It's not necessary, really, because I can take the knight, and the bishop is... and my knight is protecting my bishop, so it's not really in danger. But I went in and threw in this exchange of bishops and then grabbed the knight. And now my opponent makes his first mistake, so this will be your first tactical quiz. What can black play here? Which your hint is that I didn't play it. Okay, pause the video if you didn't see it immediately. It's a simple tactic. I'm going to give the answer away now. It was queen takes g2. And this kind of move can be dangerous. White can defend with the move bishop to f3. And this is kind of a neat configuration. The rook protects the knight, which protects the bishop, which protects the rook. And the pawn is guarded by the king. So the queen has to vacate the premises, but it has a good escape square here. And, there's pros and cons to grabbing that pawn. White can castle queenside and try and get an attack on the g-file, but on the other hand, you're a pawn up. So the chess engine rates this as a, not a full pawn, but maybe half a pawn advantage for black, So it was worth grabbing. I didn't even pay attention to that. I just played the move knight d4, continuing with my plans to get my pieces on good squares. He goes bishop f3. And now I could just take the bishop, and the computer recommends that as a good move. The bishop is a good piece, but the knight is a good piece too. So queen d6 still keeps an advantage for black. My opponent castles queenside. I go c6 here to blunt the bishop and allow me to develop my light squared bishop. Knight g4, just continuing with his plan with the knight h2 to g4. I go bishop e6, attacking this pawn on h2, a2. He plays b3. Now b3 is a bad move, actually. You don't really want to move pawns around your king if you can help it, and that's why you can question a move like h6, because it does weaken the squares around the king. But this move b3 is even worse. It provides squares over here. For example, the queen can come in, and it also provides a target for this a pawn, which is one step closer than if it was back on b7. So it just makes black's attack faster and opens up squares for his pieces. So that's there's a nice alternative for white here just to play king b1. So really there's no need to play b3. But so I start immediately with the attack with a5. Don't have to ask me twice. He plays rook h to e1. And now I make kind of an instructive mistake. I'm concerned about my pawn here on e4. It's doubly attacked and only defended by the queen. And eventually I decide to take this knight so as to defend the pawn and not lose it. But if we back up, black had a better move here. So here's your second tactical quiz. There's actually a couple good moves here. So if you find either one of these, you can give yourself credit. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now, so pause the video if you want time to think about it. This one's not too hard to see. It's queen a3 check, maybe the most obvious move on the board. King b1, and then you could play a4. And the other move is you could have played a4 first and then queen a3. So if you thought of either queen a3 or a4, you can give yourself credit. But queen a3 is the stronger move. So now there's a simple threat to take on b3, which would open up the a file, and then queen check here and then mate. So the chess engine thinks the best defense is queen c1, but you can just go ahead and take here. And after a bunch of exchanges, oops, I'm sorry, I did that in the wrong order. You don't have to take back right away. You can throw in this check here, which is maybe a key point. King comes up here, and then you grab the queen. And when the king grabs your rook, you grab his rook. And he has to take back. And then you have this rook over here check. So you're going to win this pawn too. So the pieces are even, same piece configuration, a rook, a light squared bishop, and a knight. But black is just 2 pawns up. These are passed pawns here that are connected. And he's just going to win this endgame pretty easily. So that's the simplest way to win this game, is just starting out with this queen a3 check move. And instead, as I said, I was worried about the pawn. But it's an example of how often in chess the offense, a strong offense is better than a good defense, or the best defense is a good offense. Often a true saying in chess. Sometimes you have to defend, but if you have a way of counterattacking, that can often be a more successful way to proceed. Okay, bishop takes, h takes, and then I played a4, just continuing with my attack. And black retains some advantage. It's just not as strong an advantage as on the other lines. So he played queen c3. I went ahead and took back. Okay, and now here's your third tactical quiz. And these are getting more subtle. So the first two are the easiest ones. This is a little more subtle. So there's a move here that I did not play. That's your hint. That's good for black. So it's worth taking some time to think about this one. So why don't you pause the video and think about it for a while until you think you see what the best move is. I'm going to give the answer away. The recommended move here is rook to a2. And this has one idea, a couple ideas, but the first idea is it's attacking on c2. And if white makes a nothing move, just rook takes c2, check, forks the king and the queen, and if the queen takes the rook, knight takes queen, king takes, you're trading a queen and a pawn for a rook and a knight, and that very much favors black. So that's good. And it's not so easy to defend that pawn. You can try a move like rook e2, that defends. Then you can throw in the check. And if the king runs this way, you can take the pawn with, again, a fork of the king and the queen. So just like before, you'll get a queen and a pawn for a rook and a knight. Very good. And if the king runs the other way, you have the move rook to a8, and there's no way to avoid the mate now. The king is coming in, the rook is coming in here, and after the trade, the queen comes there, and that's checkmate. And this pawn can't move, so the other pieces are not able to come in and help out, and the king can't move. So forced mate. So this queen a3 check that I played is not as strong as rook a2. So rook a2 is the move there. What I played is queen a3 check, which would have been a good move in that earlier sequence. So he goes king d2, and that's the reason. By checking this way, his king is allowed to escape when I'm not making any threats on c2. And so it's actually hard to figure out a way to proceed. these squares are covered. He's going to play rook a1 if he gets the chance. He'll have a rook there and he'll have two pieces supporting it, so I can't really prevent that. So I just retreated the queen to d6, and I guess there wasn't much better. It's just time to regroup after the first wave of the attack peters out. My opponent played rook a1. I go b5, trying to win some more squares around his king, maybe make his queen a little bit uncomfortable there. He goes bishop e4, and I go b4, and now queen c4. So I have successfully marked out a few squares here. The pawn is guarding this square, the knight is guarding these squares. So the king's position is getting more and more shaky. And now there's a really good move here, which I didn't see at all. And this is your fourth tactical quiz, and as promised, it's even more subtle than the last one. But it is a very interesting position, so this is worth thinking about for a while. See if you can figure out the best move for black here. Okay, yeah, I recommend pausing the video and then thinking about it. I'm going to go ahead and give the answer away now. The engine recommends queen f6. And even after you see this, maybe it's not so obvious what's wrong with this. So you might think, well, he's just threatening to take on f2. So why not just defend it? And that's a move, but that loses pretty quickly because of queen f4 check. And now you see the problem. Queen is guarding these squares, the knight's guarding that square, the pawn is guarding that square. So where can the king go? He's forced to the back rank. And then you can just grab this rook with check and mate, actually. so that's a pretty sorry solution. So what else are you going to do? Can you, obviously, if the knight comes to if the knight comes to e2, you can just, if the rook comes to e2, you can just take it with the knight if nothing better, and that's winning material. If you move the pawn here, you have the same kind of thing. If the king goes to the back rank, then you have rook takes a1, so he has to play rook a3 here, and then once again this rook is just hanging. So it's not with checkmate this time, but it's still a rook. So you can't actually defend this pawn at all. And in fact, the best move here is rook a to c1, and then you follow up with rook a2, and then this rook comes over, and you just have a winning attack. So this queen f6 move is actually irrefutable, an unstoppable attack for white. I'm sorry, I played that wrong. You can throw in queen f2 check first. And again, he doesn't want to interpose. You can just take. So the king goes to the back rank. Then you go here. And there's various moves that white can play. I'll show you the computer line. The computer line recommended playing this move. And then here, threatening on f7 there, and recommends black just ignore it. And now if white takes here, actually this loses a piece, but it thinks that's the best way to play. If you don't give up material, so now you're just have a rook, your knight up with the pawns, and his king is still very restricted. You can just play rook to a1 to trade off some more material. But if you don't do this, and you play a move like this, for example, rook here, bishop here, this was another line. This move here, rook a1, is really strong because you have the threat of rook takes rook, and after king takes, which is forced, then the rook a1 is checkmate. So once again, in this situation, the chess engine is recommending sacrificing on f7, but that just loses a piece. So this is all just losing, and it all started with this move, queen f6. So if we back up in this position, queen f6, just getting on this side of the board, ready to hop into this dark square diagonal, also threatening on f2 if that's not defended, and then these rooks come in on the other side. So you're hammering the king from both sides, and the knight just sits there in the center, kind of observing everything and guarding a few key squares around the king. So very nice attacking setup and kind of interesting to think about. Okay, let's go on. I didn't see that. That's pretty subtle. I don't know if I would spot that even in a long game, but anyway, I found that interesting. So rook a3, which I played, actually gives away all my advantage, and now the game is about even with best play. He played rook a1 here, and really the best way to play it is to play c3 immediately and kick my knight, get my knight out of that square, and then it's an even game. After rook a1, I have my advantage back that I had before, and rook b8 turns out to be a good move. I didn't quite see all of it, but now c3 is not possible because I can just take on b3. So, or not advisable anyway. It's maybe possible. Rook b6. Okay, so after all of those difficult tactical quizzes, here's a real simple one. What's the best move for black here? My opponent has just played bishop to g6, threatening to take on f7. And I played a defensive move, rook b7. But that's not the best move. So if you haven't spotted it immediately, pause the video and think about it. What's the best move for black? Okay. The best move is just to take the bishop. The bishop is hanging. You know, I looked at this and I said, oh, I can't take the bishop because my pawn is pinned, right? The queen is pinning this pawn. That's the whole point of that move. But of course, my queen can just take it. So anyway, a funny variation. Yeah, sorry, I just missed that. I played rook b7, moving too fast. No excuse for that. So I thought this game was kind of entertaining in spite of these blunders. Hope you guys are enjoying it. King f8, and I still have an advantage here. And this was a nice tactic, I thought, and computer approved. So I calculated this one right. If you take back with the pawn, then knight takes, check, picks up the rook. So this just wins a couple of pawns here. So he played it reasonably well. He probably best is just to take the rook and play on like that. Queen and knight versus queen and bishop, and I've won a couple of pawns. But this pawn is weak, and it's not clear if my advantage is all that great. So that's probably the best way to play. He played queen c8 check rather than going into that. King e7, and after this move, bishop takes c6, I have a tremendous advantage, and this move rook b2, which I finally got the idea of getting a rook on the second rank, which you saw in many other lines before. So finally I have a winning advantage for good. I don't give this one away. He has some checks, but my king is able to escape the checks. So I guess that's what made this part interesting. Bishop a4. And now after queen b4 check, which I played, the computer says there's a forced mate in 10. And there's a forced mate from here on out through the rest of the game. So it doesn't matter if he finds the best move here or not, because he's going to get mated anyway. So all of these lines lead to checkmate. But I thought this was a pretty checkmate. So just queen here, queen guards all of these squares, and the rook guards all of that squares. So the king is checkmated in the middle of the board. So anyway, I had fun with that one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And leave any comments in the section below. And as I said before, I won't be posting videos for a while. So go back and review some of the old ones and have fun. See you guys when I get back. Bye.